Hey tea heads, this is Don from Mayleaf. Well, it seems like green teas are like buses in that you wait and wait and wait for them for ages and then they all turn up at the same time. I've just received a phone call that 3 shipments from 3 different producers have just all rocked up at the warehouse on the same day. So that throws out all of my Friday planning. It's Friday midday here in London. I was planning to shoot another video, but all of that has to be scrapped because this has to take priority because these are 3 fresh in green teas. So I want to get them out as quickly as possible. Normally all of our teas we send by sea, but some special green teas we will get some small quantities by air, and we've been watching tracking numbers for the past few weeks. Seemingly these parcels were lost. We were panicking a bit, and suddenly out of the blue they've all turned up at the warehouse at the same time. One of them is our Imperial Green 2021, so Dragonwell 2021 is here. We've also got an immaculate Jade Arrow Supreme, Angie Baicha Supreme, super early picked from an incredible cultivar with the most pale milky white leaves. You will be amazed when you see that tea. And also arrived at the warehouse just now is our Hou Kui monkey picked, monkey king tea, however you want to call it, one of the most expensive and sought after teas in China. Very, very good looking, but oftentimes the price is much higher than the quality. But we found an incredible handmade one for us to enjoy, and every year is a search and a struggle to find Hou Kui, but we've managed to find it this year. So they've all turned up at the warehouse at the same time, within like a few hours of each other. So I'm heading over to the warehouse now. Let's go pick them up, and then we're going to shoot a video about one of them. Okay, we are here. Hi everybody. Hi. Hi. Oh, waiting for me here. Jade Arrow Supreme, Imperial Green, and that's the monkey picked. I know all of you want a sneak peek of the warehouse. We will make sure that happens at some point. In the meantime, say hello everybody. Hello. All right, I'm off tasting. Bye. All right, I'm back from the warehouse, and I think all of my team probably are cursing under their breath at me because I've told them that I want to try to get all of these released before this video goes out tomorrow, which means we need to taste the teas, I need to approve them, we need to do the tasting notes, we need to take the pictures, we need to write the descriptions, we need to print the labels, design the labels, the warehouse team need to pack and prep and everything. So it's a lot to do, but here we go. My goal right now is to approve all of these in front of you. So I'm gonna do a tasting. I was gonna do 1 tea, but I think we should just do them all, but probably much more condensed than our normal tastings, just so you can get an idea of these different teas, and we'll do the approval process live in front of you. Hopefully they all meet up to the specifications. So let's dive in. Let's not waste any more time. Okay, so here we have our Longjing 2021, which I'm just gonna put in here. And we have got our Jade Arrow Supreme, formerly known as Jade Sword Supreme. I'm not gonna get into it, but we had a bit of a legal issue with another tea brand basically saying we shouldn't use that name, even though we never knew that that was a copyrighted name. But hey, so be it. So it's now Jade Arrow, no biggie. And this is Jade Arrow Supreme. So we're obviously going to get our Jade Arrow, our main Jade Arrow for the year. But this is a very, very small batch of Jade Arrow Supreme. Incredible tea from my tasting. And we've got some handmade Hou Kui monkey picked. There you go. I'll just put those here. Let's quickly scope all 3 of these in front of you. Turn the kettle off. So let's start with the Longjing. This is Imperial Green. This is season spring, early spring 2021. This is from the 18th of March 2021. The cultivar is the same cultivar that we picked last year. In fact, it's the same producer as last year. That's unusual for us, but we loved it last year and we approved it in blind tastings this year. So just out of all the blind tasting, this is the one we love the most. It happened to be the same producer. 40-year-old bushes of the TEAWARE fooding variety, so the small leaf cultivar variety. This is from the Wuyi area of Zhejiang in China, elevation around 770 meters. This Jade Arrow Supreme. Wow. A very, very pricey tea, but I absolutely just was head over heels in love with this tea. This is spring 2021, 16th of March 2021. The cultivar here is from the Dongshan Huang cultivar, different cultivar to the cultivar that we normally pick for Jade Arrow. And so it was a little bit of a decision there, like, are we really going to switch cultivar on this? But I just absolutely adored it. So yes, Dongshan Huang cultivar. This is from Anji, Zhejiang province, a bud in one leaf. Very, very, very fine picking. This is pinnacle tea. Very, very small circles of tea connoisseurs get their hands on tea like this. And this is elevation around 500 meters. Finally, we have handmade Hou Kui. So it's going to look very different to the machine-made Hou Kui. Let me just show you. I just picked up a sample that was sent recently of some machine Hou Kui, so you can compare them next to each other. So machine Hou Kui is going to look paler, flatter, in many ways look prettier than the handmade variety. The handmade is more expensive, goes through more processes of the processing of Hou Kui. Is going to be hand done versus machine done, and just in my opinion, this is a better quality tea in general. Last year we had this variety of tea and we loved it, but in general, handmade with these very, very small stems and this rougher look is what we prefer. Just a richer body and aroma, and just generally reserved for higher quality leaves and terroir, this handmade approach. So this is from spring 2021, obviously. 17th of April 2021, this variety, the Shida Yezhong variety, grows a little bit later than the other varieties. In Anhui province, generally the teas come out a little bit later than in Zhejiang province. This is from Xinming area of Taiping in Anhui province in China. And the picking is a bud and 2 leaves. Elevation is around 500 meters. Okay, so what I want to do is I'm going to be brewing this grandpa style. I'm going to be comparing it with the machine. I'm going to try and fit a lot into this video. And we're going to put this to the side for a second. We're going to first dive into Longjing tea. I'm not going to start weighing it out. I'm just going to be doing it by eye, doing it by feel. We've got 90-degree water, so we need to let that cool. I'm just going to put the lid up a bit, and hopefully, I mean, as I said, we selected it in blind tasting, so I'm pretty certain this is going to be a spectacular Longjing with that right balance between sweetness and nuttiness, freshness and nuttiness, I should say. You can see that it's a nice color. It's got that lovely sort of toasted look to it, and you've got this sort of white furry buds material. I've said it many times, but it's worth reiterating that if you find little balls of white yellow fluff in your Longjing, well, you should find little balls of yellow white fluff. That is not mold. That is because the leaves are very early spring picked, and they've got that little downy trichomes on the surface of the leaves. All right, compose, got to approve these teas. Here we go. Longjing 2021. Oh, sweet, praline sweetness. You know, the Haagen-Dazs ice cream, pralines and cream. You know, those candied pecans. It's not the ice cream part, but those candied pecans. Oh, a little bit of candied chestnuts, candied pecans. Very, very sweet, very, very much like candy notes. And then you've got a toasted nutty note. I wouldn't say it's in the bean territory. I would say it's more like toasted soybeans, toasted edamame. Okay, we're at 86 degrees. That's fine for the rinse. Elephant gets first taste of the 2021 Longjing. Okay, let's smell the wet leaves, and already just from this little crack in the guy one, I'm getting a lot of brothiness. I'm getting a savory, now it is more in the chestnuts, but it's more brothy, slightly soupier. Oh yeah, that toasted bean, roasted bean notes coming to the fore. Very, very savory. It's moving into the very clear chicken broth, saltiness, chestnuts, but again, slightly candied chestnuts. Oh, I'm getting those adzuki beans. So if you've ever had Chinese desserts where you get those red bean desserts with that sweetened red beans, it may feel a little bit strange to some people to have sweet beans, but it's very commonly done in the East. So I'm getting that adzuki bean sweet, and a breadiness is coming through as well, like you have those buns in Chinese bakeries that are stuffed with, so imagine those sort of sweet buns stuffed with sugared adzuki beans. And again, yeah, that chestnut and brothy, chicken brothy. It's not just vegetal, it's not just vegetable broth. It has a real savory note to it, which is not going to really be something that you're going to taste as much as is in the Roma, but it makes the tea more Moorish. Okay, here we go. Apologies if you feel that I am rushing through this session. I just thought instead of doing a longer tasting session with one tea, what we could do is just give you a snapshot of every one of these teas. I need to do that anyway in order to sort of approve them and begin to formulate my tasting notes so that I can pass that on to the team, and they can you know, prep all the labels and get all of the wheels in motion to get a tea online. There's a lot that happens. Okay, so we'll probably do one, maybe two infusions. Lovely color liquor here. Lots of activity. You can see all of those trichomes have started to get into the liquor, and that's going to only contribute to great texture. Okay, which cup? Yeah, let's go for this little cup, which sold out super quickly and we can't get any more. I'm sorry if you missed out on this one. All right, cheers everybody. Longjing 2021, Imperial Green 2021. Texture first. I can't, you know, my brain is just rejoicing because I'm happy with the taste. But let's focus on the texture. Thick, brothy, creamy, delicious. And now the taste. I'm getting like more nuttiness than the 2020, or my recollection of the 2021. But the nuttiness is less in that roasted bean note. I'm getting like a lighter, slightly desiccated coconut nuttiness. The adzuki beans are there as well. Incredible lingering sweetness. That's always the thing that I'm looking for in these kinds of teas. And one of the standout features of this Xiaoye Fuding tea cultivar from these 40-year-old bushes, the reason why I keep selecting, well, 2 years in a row I've selected from the same producer, is the finish is sweet, juicy, slightly fruity, but rich in its sweetness all over the tongue. And the sweetness is in the taste as well. I think last year we talked about palmier, you know, those toasted swirls of sugared biscuits. Very, very much that same profile. Palmier, adzuki beans. The greenness is there, but it's very understated. It's like fresh sugar snap peas or mange tout. Those flat peas, peas, mange tout. What's the name of that? There's another word for it, but anyway, mange tout is how I call it. So very sort of, it's got a little bit of that raw green, but very, very sweet, and then a predominance of nuttiness, toastiness, and an amazing lingering sweet finish, which is carameled and sugared, but also has, yeah, and I remember saying this last time, it has a lemon meringue pie finish to it through the nose. Very, very citrusy and sweet. So a combination of those sweet meringues and that sweet and that citrusy lemon filling of a lemon meringue pie. A delicious tea. Very vaporous in the mouth. Let's quickly smell the empty Gong Da Bei. So this is for sure approved. Very, very happy. Everything that I want from a Longjing, that perfect balance of fresh, nutty, toasted and sweet. And the finish is amazing. Oh, still got that coconut. More of that coconut, and those buns that we were talking about before, those sweet buns stuffed with adzuki beans. It's more like a coconut bun. What are they called? In Chinese bakery, they're usually called cocktail buns. I think they're long, and they are very simple, but perfect in its simplicity. White, fluffy, sweet bun with like a desiccated coconut filling. Yeah, that's what it is. Okay, so Imperial Green 2021. Seems to be richer than even the 2020 version from my recollection. Definitely approved. Very, very happy. That's a green light on that one. Why do I have this? Put that away. Okay. Luxury time. Let's move into Jade Arrow. To keep reminding myself, it's Jade Arrow Supreme. So we're gonna warm up this kettle a bit. So it's 78 degrees, so I just want to bring that up a little bit. Check out these leaves, I mean, really. And when they hydrate, I think you'll be amazed at the paleness of these leaves. So Anji Bai Cha is called Anji Bai Cha because, not because it's a white tea, Bai means white in Chinese, but because the variety that it's traditionally made from is a very pale, white looking, like albino looking leaves. And this one is the whitest that I've ever seen. It's incredible. Okay, here we go. Oh, wow. Confection again. Oh, what does that remind me of? You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of freshly fried fairground donuts. You know, the very classic fairground, cinnamon sugar coated donuts, warm and just straight out of that bag, you know, very, very decadent smell. Yeah, it smells so donutty, and even has that sort of that rich sort of crispy little fried note to it. I know that sounds weird. Oh yeah, that straight back to the fairground as a kid. Almost milky, doughy, milky. And there is a little bit of cinnamon in there and sugar. Oh, fairground donuts. Wow. Wow, wasn't expecting that. Okay, here we go. I'm going to give it a quick rinse just so that I can smell those wet leaves. Oftentimes I'll just go in straight for the brew. Check out these leaves. Again, so beautiful. Incredible color on them. Vibrant, and it's from this cultivar, this Dongshan Huang cultivar. Okay, here we go. Wet leaf. Sugar snap peas, definitely coming through. Flowery. Sweeter or different. Normally orchid is the flower, the go-to flower for this. I'm going to go more in the magnolia, just slightly more nuanced in its smell. Oh, wow. Yeah, magnolia. Sweet sugar snap peas. There's a starchiness. It's not beans. It's again in that lentil note. I think that last year we had that as a flavor note, sort of pui lentils. And there's just a sort of summery, perfectly seasonal to now. Strawberries are just starting to come into season here in the UK. And it's got that very light strawberry note. Strawberry, magnolia, sugar snap peas, lentils. That would be my initial snapshot of this. Okay, got 83-degree water here. These paler cultivars are much more forgiving with temperature, so you can sort of play around with temperature. I've done a whole video about temperatures with Angie Baicha. I've done a whole video in Angie County showing you the processing and making of these kinds of teas. These very revered, very expensive, highly sought after teas. So go check it out. As I said, this Supreme variety, this very early spring picked Supreme variety is not often found on the international market and is very rarely found even on the domestic market. It's very highly sought after, usually sort of purchased on WeChat groups amongst tea heads in China. And we've managed to get an into those kinds of circles for these kinds of very small batch teas. And it's just the color of these leaves, they're going to get paler and paler. I'll probably do a couple of infusions of this just so that you can see color of the liquor. Beautiful citrine, quite luminous, sort of bright, clear, shining, citrine yellow-green with these very dense fluff again. All right, here we go. Jade Arrow Supreme 2021. Cheers, everybody. Texture first. Velvety, oily, creamy, soft. Not a hint of astringency. Taste. I am getting more orchid now, but the creaminess is what's really fascinating. It has a milky note to it. Like warm milk. You know, when you warm up milk, it somehow accentuates the sweetness of the milk. So warm milk, orchids, a hint of white chocolate, strawberries. Yeah. Almost like wild strawberries, just that little bit more fragrant and more concentrated. So wild strawberries, magnolia, orchid, I said, warm milk, and white chocolate. Oh, and a little nuttiness there as well. Again, moving into that sort of very light edamame nuttiness. I am going to brew a second infusion of this. I really want you to see, you can already see hopefully how pale these leaves are. But as they hydrate, you're really going to notice it. And what we may do is I may just put some cool water over it while I move on to the Hou Kui, and so you can see, because it really was one of the sort of standout things that really shocked me when I tasted this sample was I've always known that, you know, they're always pale, and we always sort of look at the hydrated leaves of Anji Bai Chai and we always sort of assess how pale it is. And I'm used to seeing pale, but I've never seen as pale as this. And that is because of the cultivar and the very early picking of it. Because obviously earlier it is, you know, there's less sunshine to protect against. A lot of the greenness in the tea is in the leaf is a reaction to, you know, the weather and the amount of sun it's getting. But just naturally, this variety is very, very pale. Leaving my mouth with a very fresh, comfortable, juicy finish. Yeah. I'll leave the lid on a bit there, just to allow it to steam up a little bit so that you can see the color. One more round of this, and then we'll move on to the Hou Kui. Just, you know, the word immaculate comes to mind. It's just everything in its place, delicate but complex, rising, bright, fresh aromas, but still creamy and soft and indulgent. Just a very, very special tea. If you want to treat yourself to a very special, small, tiny batch Anji Bai Chai, then look no further. Very, a tiny hint of orchid moving into a little bit of jasmine, but very tiny, tiny hint, just there. I don't like my green teas to have too much of that jasmine note. I find it a bit overbearing, but there it's just sort of peeking its head around the corner. A little bit of a jasmine note. I'm getting a little bit more pear notes in there. So a little fresher fruits. And a little bit of gooseberry. There's a little bit of a tang on the finish. Very like gooseberry fools, gooseberry desserts, when you've sort of taken that a very strong, quite tangy taste of a gooseberry, and you've just cut it down with creams. Okay, let's have a smell of the empty Hongdabe. Powdered sugar, white chocolate, strawberries, same profile. White chocolate, strawberries, powdered sugar. Milky as well, but almost like powdered milk. Oh, again, very, very special tea. Look at how pale they're going. What I'll do is I'm going to take some of this water. In fact, you know what? I need to fill up this kettle, so I'll be back and put some cold water in this and fill up the kettle so that we can brew this Hou Kui. I've got some cold water in here with the Jade Arrow Supreme, just to allow that to hydrate so you can see the leaves, and that'll be my last sip on this video. I've got here our Hou Kui 2021. This is a handmade Hou Kui, so let me just sort of explain what that means. There are many different processes in the making of Hou Kui tea. That's one of the reasons why it is more expensive than most other green teas out there. And so some of these processes can be done by hand for the more precious leaves and the better terroir. And that means that you are folding the leaves by hand, rolling them by hand after the chartering process and before they get laid out for baking. And that produces a tea which I would say on first glance doesn't look as pretty as your machine-made tea, which is very, very thin, slightly translucent, has this really, really immaculate look to it. This is a machine-made Hou Kui. Again, not to say that machine-made Hou Kuis are not good. They can be great, and sometimes they can taste better than the handmade. But overall, in general, we tend to prefer the taste of this style here with the very sort of thin-stemmed and more sort of darker looking. Tends to produce a more concentrated taste, and that's one of the things about Hou Kui. It's a very expensive tea, and I think a lot of people, when they taste Hou Kui, they're sort of a bit disappointed because of the fact that it's very light and very delicate, and that's fine. It can be light and delicate, but it needs to have this, it's very difficult to describe, but this sort of elegance in its complexity of aroma. This sort of, it needs to have flavor and complexity. It's going to be more in this sort of ethereal, lighter zone compared to teas that have the smaller leaf teas that have a bit more oomph to them, and that's the charm of this tea, is it's sort of ethereal and light but still complex, and that's why it's always a struggle to get a good Hou Kui that's worth the price. I'm going to be brewing these grandpa style. I've done a video about this. I'll stick a link in the description below. I'm just going to put a little bit of water in both, just so that I can start to smell, warm them up and smell the dry leaf for you, so that we can at least get some. I've not actually tasted this tea, this sample yet, because it was too late. It arrived too late. So, but I thought it'd be a good opportunity to A/B handmade versus machine made. Hopefully, I prefer this one. Oh, so when you first sniff a Hou Kui, one of the giveaways is, does it have aroma? Is it going to have that richness? And this has bags of it. What am I getting? I'm getting buttered courgettes, buttered zucchini. I am getting like the strawberry note again, but it's more in a sort of taffy candy, so a bit warmer. Again, brothy, slightly vegetal, but still sweet. And I'm getting orchids there as well. Okay, let's smell the machine made. Very, very different. Creamier, in a way more like a vanilla taffy candy. So lighter, not so complex in terms of the strawberry notes and those zucchini notes, but still very nice. Reminds me of milk duds. Okay. We're gonna pour a little bit more in, just so that we wet more of these leaves, so I can give you a wet leaf smell. Here we go. Oh, again, very, very rich. I'm getting more sweetness coming through, more like porridge oats, malted oats. There is a fruity note to it as well. Pears, star fruits, so in those more fresh, watery fruit notes. Little spice. Not quite cinnamon, but a little spice in there as well. Okay, smell the wet leaf of this, yeah. See, very much lighter, more vegetal, more sort of a stewy vegetal note. And again, milk duds, milk candies, which is nothing wrong with that. I mean, I like milk candies, or I used to. Same amount of leaf in here. One thing you'll notice is that you're gonna, by volume, it looks like you're using more of the machine-made versus the handmade, simply because the handmade teas tend to be denser. They tend to have more layers in them. One of the things that people are looking for with Hou Kui, which I think is incorrect, but they're looking for very sort of translucent leaves, and so you get that sort of very thin leaves. And that, again, it's a sign that it's more about the delicacy of the look. But I prefer leaves that have a bit more thickness to it, because that's going to translate hopefully to flavor. Color of the liquor is very different as well. You can see also how they're reacting differently. The handmade is floating. The machine made seems to be dropping. I'm not quite sure why. This color liquor, if you can see, looks a bit cloudier. Again, not a criticism, because that it could be to do with the fluff on the leaves, and is going darker quicker. So it's definitely extracting quicker than the handmade, again, because of the fact that the handmade is more layers. It's going to take a little bit more time to penetrate, whereas here, because you've got more volume, so larger surface area, because they're thinner, it's extracting quicker. So I'm going to taste this one first. And you see, this is where I tend to get disappointed with Hou Kui, because sure, it's nice, it's comfortable, it's fresh. It's a little bit drying on the finish. It's very, very light in flavor. Okay, it's just getting going, but it is a little bit light in flavor. I'm not getting any sort of bursting aromatics coming out of it. It's a bit empty. It's a lot empty. Okay, let's taste the Taiping Hou Kui 2021, fresh in. Oh, a world of difference. In fact, I'd love for you guys to A/B this. If I could have the luxury of buying lots of this machine-made Hou Kui and putting them back to back, it would be a great way for you to assess the quality of Hou Kui. Totally different. Tons and tons of aromatics and complexity, albeit in that light ethereal style. A little bit of nuttiness, a little bit of chestnuts, a lot of fruit, nashi pears, very much like a guava sweet finish. That hou yun, that sweetness in the finish is in full effect here. A little bit of petrichor, that minerality is happening there. A juicy, dry to juicy on the mouth. The texture is initially quite soft and thick, but then it goes quite mineral. Like laying down a little dry to juicy physicality on the tongue, with that payoff of lots of strawberry and guava sweetness in the aftertaste. Stewed. Again, disadvantage of thinner potentially. It extracts too quickly, that inner leaf material. It has a stewed note, maybe not so suited for grandpa style. Vague sort of cherry candy note to it, but the physicality is much more astringent and stays astringent, doesn't move to juicy. I don't get that hou yun, I don't get that comfortable sweet refreshment in my mouth. That is what I'm really looking for with Hou Kui. Big, big difference. Yeah. Nashi pear. A little bit of soya milk. Again, those porridge oats, soya milk, petrichor. And I keep on going on about it, so apologies. But with teas, it's all about the body and the finish. And the finish on this is just exactly what you want. It leaves you with this lingering, sweet, interesting, guava-like, tropical fruit-like note in the mouth. Super happy with that one. Handmade Hou Kui, definitely approved all three of these teas. I need to dive into doing full-on tasting notes for all of these. Don't worry, none of this is going to waste. I'm going to be sipping through these, brewing more. A lot of work needs to be done in the next hour or two, and then I've got to edit this video, so this is going to be a late night for me, but I want to show you these. Jade Sword Supreme, this Dongshan Huang Cultivar. Can you see that? I mean, talk about an albino or a white cultivar. You can see how pale that these buds and leaves are. Incredible. Early spring from this cultivar in that area, producing really, really milky, sort of apple flesh, milky green colored leaves. Let me just quickly give this a taste. Oh, it's developed a little peppery note in there, a little like chrysanthemum peppery note in there as well. Very, very special teas. Very, very happy with them. I've got lots of work to do. If you're interested in these very, very sought after early spring green teas, then we've got some in stock. Some is going to be coming by sea. A small amount has come by air, so grab them while you can. The rest will probably be arriving in July. It's going to be a long, long afternoon moving into evening, but at least I've got all of these to keep me company. That's it, tea heads. Check out our other videos, taste our teas wherever you are in the world by browsing mayleaf.com, and come visit us if you're ever in London. Other than that, I'm Don from Mayleaf. Thank you for being a part of the revelation of true tea. Stay away from those tea bags. Keep drinking the good stuff and spread the word, because nobody deserves bad tea. Bye.